and welcome to another episode. I am Christian.
And I am Mike.
And we are the Ref Collective. That's right. And Mike, I'm really excited today. We have a very, very special guest today, don't we?
We sure do. We are lucky to have a dear friend of mine. His name is Jim Deck. Jim, welcome to the show.
Thank you, guys. Glad to be here.
Oh, Jim. Yeah, man, I'm excited. I'm excited about this. You know, there's just so many things that I want to discuss here with you. And I am so glad that you were able to accept our invitation today and that you made some time to speak with us. There's just so many things, but let's start with the first question here.
Sure.
Everybody says that there is a referee shortage. Is that true from your point of view? Do you think that's really happening?
There is. So just like everything, there are ebbs and flows, with the referees. There was, coming out of COVID, we were definitely, short of referees. So going into COVID, the state of Tennessee had roughly 3,300 certified referees within the state. Coming out of COVID, we only had 1,200.
Oh, wow.
So
wow, that's a big hit.
Yeah, that was a huge hit. So in order to build up those numbers again, and you guys have probably seen this, and Tennessee is one of the few states to offer this kind of program. Actually, we were one of the first. We have the recreational ref program, and that is the orange badge referees. And basically, it's an orange badge, it says a white TN. And those are 11 and 12-year-olds, and they are only in the state of Tennessee. So essentially, I went to the state and said, hey, we're short referees. I need to recruit more referees, younger ones. I'm like, here's my presentation, which is basically a ref and training program. And I gave him the criteria, and Hans Hobson at the state, the CEO for Tennessee State Soccer, said, essentially, hold my beer.
Nice job, Jim.
And a couple months later, he was like, here you go. We've got it through the state. They get this badge. They get a free uniform kit, and all this other stuff. And I was like, heck yeah. So we started that, and man, that really helped to bolster our numbers. Granted, they can only do small-sided games and only, the same within the same program. So they can do WCSA versus WCSA small-sided. They couldn't do a WCSA versus a YMCA or something like that, because then it's intramural. But still, those numbers have been great to help us out. So right about now, and I didn't pull a list as of this morning, but we were sitting right around 3,200 referees within the state. So
that's incredible. We were so eager to start that we forgot to really ask you a very important question. Why don't you tell us a little bit about you? Tell us a little bit about who Jim is. And
we want to know who the real Jim is.
That's right.
Who the real Jim is. That can be dangerous. So I am actually one of the OGs from Williamson County Soccer. So I actually started playing soccer at the Williamson County Soccer Association in 1983. And I started reffing there in 1984. So 42 years later, and I'm still doing it. Matter of fact, my first game was on field 1, both playing and officiating, because at the time there were only 4 fields at that complex.
Wait, at Downs there was only four fields? Yeah.
The original fields were field 1, 2, 4, and 5.
Wow, I didn't know.
So
that.
when I left for the Army in '89, we were up to fields, and I'm using the current numbers. You had fields 1, 2, 4, 5, 8, 9, 6, and 10. Now, obviously, the fields have been renamed, but there were, essentially 6 relatively full-size fields and then 2 smaller fields when I left in '89. So
you really have been part of the evolution of Williamson County Soccer Association. You've seen it go from an incubation stage to where it is today.
Yeah. I started there when Jose and Lois, Jose Fernandez, who started the program. The referees would get together at Lois's daycare, which was over off Lakeview Court over in Franklin. And we would gather at the daycare at 6 p.m., and they'd be like, okay, we have these games here, and you'd have to go over there and write down your assignments or whatever, and then show up on Saturday. So,
oh, wow.
But, I started reffing in 1984. I joined the Army in '89. At the time, there used to be a soccer tournament in Williamson County called the Jerry Reed Soccer Invitational, which was every Thanksgiving. And it would draw teams internationally to Tennessee.
Oh, wow.
We would use every high school field, every piece of grass that we could pretty much put a field on. And even when I was in the Army, I mean, I was an E3 making $714 a month, back then. And I would take a weekend pass or get leave and then come ref that tournament for 3.5 days and make $300 to $400, refing in that tournament. So
Wow.
that was great. And then, as it progressed, I think the indoor arena was built in 2001. And then I think right around 2002 is when the west side started getting built. So, yeah, I've seen it grow quite a bit since then.
So there's been a lot of pain points, though. And, part of our podcast is the pain points with referees. Is the retention from back then to now, is it harder or easier to recruit and retain refs versus present day?
Honestly, I think it's about the same. You have the same factors. You might have a few more factors today. I mean, so back then, 84, basically you just kind of took the test, and boom, here you go. You're a referee. You're thrown out on a pitch. You sat in a classroom for 2.5 days. Actually, it was more like 2 days, but you sat in a classroom and you had somebody basically say, hey, here are the rules. And, well, they're not rules, they're laws. You go through that whole regurgitation of all the laws within the game. And then you're thrown out on the pitch. Now it's a little different because you have to go through all the online courses, which is a significant change, obviously, as technology has progressed. The reffing has tried to keep up with it as well. So you do 8 modules, for the reffing, then you have an outdoor clinic. But on top of it all, if you're an adult, I mean, you have to do safe sport. You have to do the concussion, the cardiac, the background check. None of that was really in place. Actually, most of it was not in place, when I first started reffing. But I think from a retention standpoint, some of that has a little bit to do with it, but you still have the same reasons. Like the majority of our association, like 83% of it is youth referees. So they get to where, as they're growing older, maybe they start to specialize in a sport. Maybe they go to lacrosse or baseball or football or whatever. Maybe they go competitive. If you play high school, you can't play rec. Then when they turn 16, they get a car. Sometimes they stay,
they
sometimes
disappear.
they don't. And of course, then you hit 18 and they're off to college. So there's always turnover, and then it's just a matter of, where are you at in life? I mean, there were a couple of years, like when I worked EMS as a paramedic, I worked the night shift. It was really hard to ref games, when you're working 7P to 7A, 5 days a week.
Yeah.
I still did every now and again, most of the time on the weekends. But so it's just a challenge. It's just a different challenge. And then you have to look to see what can we do to retain them. Pay is obviously, a big deal. Why am I going to ref games for you at $40, a game when I can go ref over here for $60 a game? Valid
Absolutely,
point,
yeah.
Distance, that plays another critical factor. If I have to drive in from Fairview, some people that's not a big deal. For others, like if I have to drive more than 5 minutes, I'm not going to go ref. So different circumstances, but always a challenge. And the retention rate, I think as long as you have a good support system in place for the referees and you present a positive environment, that retention rate is going to be higher than normal. We do a good job of supporting our referees. Both, I have mentors that are out there every Saturday, generally 3 or 4 mentors, myself included. We're out on golf carts or gators and we travel the fields, we help the referees, give them advice on how to improve their game, or we deal with issues, when parents or coaches present problems. And at the same time, we get them hats, with referee logo gear on them, or do other things, they get a free lunch. So they get, a sandwich and a drink for lunch. So other little things that help to improve the retention, but it's a challenge, but I think it's pretty much the same. It's just varied over time.
Yeah. You know, I want to provide a little bit of context because there's a lot of listeners that we have that are not from this area, right? Not from
Sure.
Williamson County or not even from Tennessee. We're starting to see a lot of people commenting from different regions, and many of them are experiencing very similar issues and challenges that we're sharing here on the show. But just for the context, we're talking about a complex that has over 20 fields, I believe now, right?
28?
27.
27. Yeah,
My
it's a big
goodness.
complex.
Yeah. Yeah, and so it's a very big complex of very beautiful fields, grass fields, right, that we have access to. And clubs play there, right? But also in this particular conversation is about the rec league that happens on Saturdays, right? And so there's a group of referees, right, that's are there supporting this type of rec league, which happens, again on Saturdays. And we are, I think all of us that became referees here in this region had the privilege and the opportunity to be able to referee our first games there, right?
Yes,
I mean,
I did.
at least that's where I started.
And Jim was one of my mentors.
No
Jim
way.
was, yeah, Jim and Tim Lightning. I remember Jim first time he came out to give you some tips on the game. Like, oh yeah, you're right. That's a good idea.
I love it. That is fantastic. And it has been quite interesting to referee there because I feel that that's where I started to get my love for refereeing when I started doing the rec games, because my background is a coach. And
Yeah.
And Jim, I want to say something. I am a reform coach, okay? So, what I mean is, I used to be very fiery as a coach, but I think becoming a referee has given me so much perspective and understanding. And we'll have a conversation about that maybe some other time. But yes, I am a reform coach, right? That now has a better understanding and perspective on referees. But refereeing my first games there, my gosh, gave me such passion for referee because I had the opportunity to see the development of the kids from a different angle, different perspective. As a referee, I was able to share, some of the things that they were doing wrong and why I was calling a foul or whatever it is that I was calling. And we talked about this many times, the feedback that we were getting from the kids, from the parents even, right,
Yeah.
about our refereeing styles has been great. But one thing that I also realized, Jim and Mike, is that there's a lot of abuse that happens right here. And I think this is a topic that we need to really have cover.
It's a conversation we need to talk about. And
Certainly.
Jim, I mean, you've been here since pterodactyls were flying and we were jumping out of pterodactyls,
Push.
So, without getting, too in depth, but help us give a light to our audience about what you've seen, and which also may affect why we're not getting some of the referees to come back, maybe from the coaches or maybe from the parents, for the younger kids. I mean, we as adults, I've seen it, but I've been able to deal with it. But if you're not there as a mentor and you've got 5 other fields you're traveling to, you're not going to see every interaction, but I do see you a lot. And so you may catch a lot of it, but explain this, give us an idea, an example, what you saw and how this may affect and maybe actually is affecting the retention of refs.
Yeah. So any support of a referee has to start at the top.
Mm-hmm.
And we are no different from any other company or organization. Good leadership starts at the top. If you have bad leadership at the top, it goes downhill. We had a change in president just shortly or just right after COVID. Very supportive of the referee community. To where prior to that, you would have one mentor out on the field and stretched thin, trying to run referees from one field to another. And then, of course, I get called to deal with all the complaints and all that. When we increased the mentors, we saw a decrease in the abuse. Now, this was a culmination of trying to stem that abuse. Now, in the coaches meeting, I get up, I'm like, okay, this is a coaches meeting. I'm here to threaten you. Okay.
Yeah.
No, and that's what I would say. I'm here to threaten you. Here, take this to heart. If you abuse my referees, I am going to absolutely drop the hammer on you as much as I legally can to prevent it again. If that means I have to ban you for a season or a year, I will do it. And we currently have 3 coaches that are serving in excess of a year ban, since then. Um, and I'm like, folks, take this to heart. If they have an orange badge on, the only thing you need to say to them is thank you and good game.
Yep.
Anything that is beyond that is not positive, you're in trouble. And that is one of the things I do like about U.S. Soccer. They've also implemented the green badge, which is to indicate this is a youth referee, because U.S. Soccer implemented the referee abuse policy, the RAP,
Yes. I
where
remember that.
if it is a
Yep.
youth referee, the penalties are multiplied by 3. Um, that's great on paper, doesn't necessarily work in reality, and here's why. The state of Tennessee, and especially the SRA, Don Eubank, does not view D4 or recreational games as part of that. They're not real games.
Hmm.
So we use that RAP policy as a guideline. And the reason we have to do that is because that policy is meant for competitive soccer. Well, in competitive soccer, you might play 30 or 40 competitive games in a soccer year, right? Well, at WCSA, you're playing 8 games in a season. So if I suspend you for what's supposed to be like a 1-game cuss word violation, you say something that's on the banned list or something. Well, that policy is now multiplied by 3. So then that's 3 games. What's almost half a season?
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
So we do have to modify that a lot. And the other thing, and I tell the coaches, understand you're responsible for your conduct and your parents' conduct.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's a big one right there,
Yeah.
Jim. That's a big
Yes.
one, as I see that, is the parents yelling at the referees, the young referees.
yes. And it's one of those like, coach, you're responsible. I said, when the game is in progress, before the game, the check-ins and everything else, until the referees leave the field and the game's over, the referees are the adults. Everybody else is the child. You have to do what the referee is asking you to do. So if my referee comes up and says, hey, I need you to go talk to this parent, you better go talk to that parent. And if you don't, expect to see a nice little colored card come out. Here's your yellow. Now I'm telling you to go deal with the parent.
Mm-hmm.
If you still don't want to, here's your second, here's your red, goodbye. And you're going to be coming before the Judiciary Committee is to explain why you did not deal with your abusive parent.
Mm.
But we still get it. We had, thankfully, the last 2 years, championship nights have been, knock on wood, relatively good. But here's a question for you guys. What do you think the biggest problem I have for abuse, what age group, and boys or girls?
Wow.
Hmm.
As a ref, I've seen it at the club level, usually U12 to U14.
Christian, what's your guess on age? And
I don't know. I'm thinking probably the U10, U9, and I will say boys.
you're close.
Really?
U10 girls.
Wow, girls. Okay.
I have suspended more coaches at the U10 girls age. I had no kidding, a U10 female girls coach drop the F-bomb 3 times
my
at my 14-year-old
gosh.
female center referee
Wow.
during a championship game. And when I ejected her,
Absolutely.
because I got the phone call saying, hey, I've got this coach that's dropping F-bombs at a referee. And of course, I get on my golf cart and I go down there, coach, I'm removing you from the match. Oh, I just got caught up in the moment. Okay, well, now you're going to get caught up in the moment from the parking lot.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, when we hold these conversations and they come before the Judiciary Committee, because we do implement additional, punishments for stuff like this.
Hmm.
Would you accept that if I said that to your daughter?
Absolutely not.
You would be in my face in a heartbeat, threaten me with,
Yep.
every legal action and maybe illegal action under the sun. I'm going to, yeah, you wouldn't accept that. So why are you doing it to somebody else's daughter?
Wow.
So
That's unbelievable. My gosh.
Yeah.
That's surprising, Jim, to be honest. I mean, Wow.
I mean, we have our usual U19, boys, but generally it's the player issue there. But
Yeah.
for coaches, it's U12 and below girls are almost always it's the coaches and the parents that are worse. Little Sally gets knocked down, it's a foul. Why isn't it a foul? Why aren't you blowing the whistle? Yeah. Um, and then above that, then it just becomes the normal U12 boys, or when the players start to become a hassle.
Yeah, the guy's getting chippy.
Yeah.
Yes, I did
Yeah,
a
that's when the
14 championship game.
testosterone starts kicking in,
Yes.
and they're
Yeah.
growing up and attitudes. So,
Can you remember a story where a young referee almost quit because of the abuse?
oh yeah, two of them. Matter of fact, they're very good youth referees. Well, now they're adults. Um, so there's a family of 4 kids that used to ref. Actually, most of them still do at Williamson County, and I'm not going to say their names because
Absolutely, we agree.
Um,
That's fine.
so these 2 girls were reffing for WCSA. Didn't have a lot of experience. They were still new to reffing. It'd been a year or two, and the TSC TNI Invitational, or Tennessee Invitational tournament, was happening there at Downs Boulevard, which is TSC's tournament. And 2 of these young ladies, they were both put as the center referee on 2 U12 boys games. Now, it was their first time on the whistle for both of them, which that's a horrible age to start on the whistle for anybody, really, because it can be kind of hairy.
And let me clarify, Jim, for those who may not understand, the whistle means they're center refs, correct?
Correct.
Right.
So they've got the whistle in the middle and they've got their 2 ARs. So I always help, Blaine Walker, who's the assigner for that tournament. And he's like, hey, we're having a problem with the referee over on field 25A. Can you go check it out? Sure. I get over there. She's in tears.
Oh, no.
It's like, okay, hold on. Talk to her. I said, okay. And she's like, they won't stop yelling at me and all this. I said, just look at me. I said, something happens. I said, I'm going to be over here. I'll just tell you. Yes. No. So for the rest of the game, I was kind of calling the match through her.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. While that's going on, 25B right behind me, same thing. Fights start breaking out.
Oh my God.
Among the children or the parents?
The parents.
Oh,
They're
geez.
over there because little Johnny took out little Mikey, and she didn't call the foul, and the parents were over there like, your son did that to my son. So I called Blaine. I'm like, hey, I need somebody else. I can't deal with 2 fields at the same time. So Jess Erickson, who is absolutely wonderful referee, and he comes over. So Jess is dealing with this field. I'm dealing with this one. We get both of the girls through. So they each had a break after that game. We get them up at the pavilion. We're talking to them. And it's like, all right, so now that we've kind of coached you and helped you through and all this, would you whistle again? One of them was like, nope. The other one was like, yeah, okay. So it took a little bit, but we actually got them both back on the whistle.
Mm-hmm.
And both of them grew since then. Now, Jess and I worked with them, when they had additional games, we were right there with them.
So that's a confidence builder right there, Jim.
Yes.
That for a young ref, having the mentor and someone that's going to have their back that they can actually see and let's, maybe even question a call and look at you and the way you were working through them, that to me is phenomenal because it builds their confidence to understand that they understand the game and you're seeing, oh, you're making the right calls. Don't worry about the parents. They're going to scream anyway. You're doing the right thing.
Yes.
I love the fact that we're having more mentors in the field in the rec league. I feel that that's so crucial, especially that early in the stage of becoming a referee. When you are able to have somebody there to support you, to help you, to give you feedback, right? To provide guidance. And I feel like I just want to applaud you because you guys are doing a great job with that. And we've seen, comments from folks in different regions, different states that don't have that. that, or stories
Yeah.
of people that they became referees and they didn't know what to do, right? They didn't know who to go to, or they couldn't get any feedback from anybody, right? So they were kind of by themselves, just reffing. So I want to applaud you guys for doing that and for continuing to provide those type of mentors to that. So now we were talking about a story of parents that were fighting right during the game.
Yeah.
What is the typical behavior that you've seen, in the rec league from parents? Is it very common to see parents doing that kind of behavior, or is it more where they actually behave during the game?
We really don't see that. It is a rare occurrence where we see parents actually going at each other at a rec game.
Mm-hmm.
Really, the only time you kind of see that is we do have a championship night at WCSA where we do hold standings through the course of the recreational season. So maybe like the last weekend, hey, am I going to be that first or second team that plays in championship night? You might get some passionate
Yeah.
parents. But most of the time when we see that level of passion, it's generally coming from the coaches.
Mm.
The parents are a little bit more forgiving at times, but you never can tell. You can look at one coach and like, yeah, they're going to be kind of cool, and then next thing you know, you're pulling out a red card.
Right.
You're like, yep, misjudged that one.
Well, Jim, let's talk about the referee abuse policy. Have you seen a modification of behavior and a better environment since it's been announced about the referee abuse policy?
Not so much at the recreational level.
Okay.
Now, I don't ref a lot of competitive anymore. I pretty much just do high school now, but when I go out and I help, TSC during the tournaments, it doesn't seem to make a difference there. And maybe it's because I'm generally one of the people that gets called to deal with the issues, when things go south. But a lot of times I have noticed that it seems to have made a difference in Tennessee, but not so much other states.
Well, again, that's kind of the leadership, I believe. I would think that the leadership is really enforcing it and supporting the refs. Maybe we're just blessed to have a better. And I'm the commissioner of refs for MTSA, and it's changed a lot. I've had players come up to me say it's changed a lot because I don't put up with anything because even you won't come ref our games.
I get tired of doing the paperwork, So, and that may be a point. I think Tennessee stresses it, and I think they communicate it, and they hammer it home. Hey, if you do this, here's what's going to happen. I had one coach. He was from southeastern Missouri. The referee was making some questionable calls, in his opinion. Now, I'm not going to go into whether or not I felt like the referee was making the correct calls. It was his match to call. And, Mike and you and I had a conversation one night after we reffed an indoor shift where you guys were using the word perception. And that's a word I don't like.
Yes. You did explain that. Please do.
So a perception becomes your reality.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if you think that ref is biased, your perception is he's always going to call for that other team. And I don't, it's just a word that I don't like to use. What I do like to use is a word called angles.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're coaching and I'm officiating, you're on the sideline, however far away, I'm on the pitch, however far away from, the play, but you're at a different angle from where I'm at. And even as a referee, when you get the crew together, you get together at halftime and you're like, hey, and let's say I'm AR1 and I ask the center referee, I'm like, hey, Mike, why did you not call that foul? I mean, he looked like he clearly took his feet out and everything. He goes, no, he got all ball. Well, from my angle back here, it looked like he just took his feet out, that he didn't get any of the ball.
Right.
So, it's about angles, not perceptions. It's about angles. And that's why, when I have coaches who are passionate or they get verbal, that's one of the discussions I like to talk to them about is, hey, I understand, from your angle, that may not have looked like a foul, but from my angle, it was definitely a foul, or vice versa. From your
Right.
angle,
Roger that.
it wasn't a foul, but from my angle, yeah, you didn't see him grab the arm and pull him backwards. So,
Mm.
And it's true because we do miss things.
absolutely.
Because Jose and I were reffing together, and we missed a big one because we were watching the play, but it was happening behind us, or
Yep.
the play wasn't happening, and so we missed something. And because we were facing the play, which is a different angle, but the spectators saw it and they were screaming at us. Well, we didn't see it, and we can only call what we see.
I call
Yes.
it perspective, right?
Yeah.
And I think is from where you stand, where's your perspective on the field, and I think that also applies to the perspective of a parent, the perspective of a coach, right, and
Yeah.
even the player, right? I mean, from where they stand, it may look like, oh, that's a foul or that's a handball, or but they have a different perspective because of their understanding of the game, their background, understanding of the laws, right, too, that continue to change, and they don't take the time that we referees take to study those and to get up to speed with the changes and the updates that have been done to the many different laws, right, that we have. So I
Yep.
think it's a matter of perspective. And how do you think, Jim, we can bring everyone together to where we have a similar perspective on the game and we can really unite the soccer family?
That's always a tricky
It's a loaded question,
scenario.
Jim. I get
Well, no,
Yeah.
so everybody has to be interested. There has to be an investment by everybody. When you have Jane and John Doe as parents, and they're working 40, 50 hours a week, they've got 2 kids, they've got all these commitments, whatever. Maybe they didn't grow up with soccer.
Mm.
Trying to get them to buy in, and maybe they're a little bit more vocal because they're tired. The kid was up crying all night, whatever. And then they get out and they start screaming and hollering. Well, that looked like a foul. No, it wasn't. It was shoulder to shoulder, and it was adequate or whatever. Just little Susie, went down. I mean, she's going shoulder to shoulder with another girl who's 6 foot, and little Susie's only 5'4".
Mhm.
Physics plays a little bit of this,
Yeah.
but a lot of it, communication is always key. Now, at the younger age groups, I am much better about communicating the laws of the game or the rules, depending on if it's indoor or high school, um, than I am with the older kids. Generally, once you hit U13, I'm like, you should know them by now.
Mm.
I might tell you specifically why I, called something. As long as I'm asked respectfully, hey, ref, why did you call that? Well, sure, let me explain it. Hey, ref, what the heck was that? That's not a respectful way to ask me a question. So it just, communication is key, but at the same time, there has to be some onus on the individual's coach. If you don't know the laws of the game, it's not my job to teach you during the course of a game.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we've run into that, Jim. We have
Yes.
run into that. Oh, yes.
I'm happy to explain a law or a rule, whatever, but I'm not going to stop play to do it.
Mhm.
The clock's running.
Right.
Yeah.
So the onus is on the coach, and I get it. A lot of these coaches, especially in a recreational league, they're volunteers.
Yep.
So, like, hey, nobody else would step up. So I don't know anything about soccer. I just signed up. Okay, great. Then you should be the one who should be complaining the least.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know the laws
Right.
or the rules, then what should
Respect
you
the
be
call, then,
complaining
right?
about? Yeah. So,
But we're going to hit you with the lightning round real quick. We
Yeah,
want to
sure,
talk
go for
with
it.
your experience.
Yeah.
All right?
All
Just
right.
answer the questions first comes on your mind because you've got a lot of knowledge, a lot of years behind you. No rehearsing.
dangerous.
Let's go.
that's dangerous. Go for it.
All right, here we go. Most difficult age group.
U10 girls.
Best age group.
U8, anything below U8 because they're there for the fun.
Yes.
That's
There's
right.
no malice. There's no meanness. It's Bumblebee soccer. They're just chasing the ball around, having a good time. I love it.
Absolutely.
That's fun. AR or center?
Depends on the game.
Ah.
High school, I want to be an AR. It's not worth the $10 extra.
Interesting. Interesting. I love
Too
it.
much paper. Too much paperwork, especially during the boys' season.
That's right. Favorite law?
Legally and properly equipped.
There you
Equipment.
go.
Safety, our number one
Yeah.
as officials. We want to make sure player safety is number one. Good answer.
That is one of the rules. Sorry, that is one of the law changes I really dislike about USSF and the shin guards. But
Ah, that's right. Those little tiny shin
yeah,
guards,
the
right?
micro shin guards, the
Yeah.
credit
Oh
cards.
my gosh. Yes.
All right, go ahead.
Agreed. Most misunderstood law.
Offside.
Good point. Yeah.
Yeah. VAR. You love it or hate it?
I'm gonna have to go with love it.
Okay.
I think anytime you can get the correct call on a game, regardless of whether it takes away from a goal or adds to a goal, as referees, we aspire to call it correctly and accurately. So yeah,
Agreed.
It gives more credibility, in my opinion.
I agree.
Electronic whistle.
No.
I've seen
you
it
can't hear
once.
'em.
I saw it once, and I was like, "What is that?"
never
I've
seen
been
one.
accused of having the loudest whistle in the state.
Well, thank you, Jim. Thank you very much. Christian, any closing comments?
Yeah, no, this has been great. I am looking forward to this part 2 because I know there's a lot more that we can discuss here, especially when it comes to the young referees, how we can equip them and help them, right? And young referees doesn't mean that they have to be teenagers. There's young referees that are just starting, like me when I started, even though I'm 42, right? I started and I feel like a young referee, right? Because it was very early for me. So I think any referee that's starting, right? There's a lot of help and support that can come from reffing a rec league. And so I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for joining us. And Mike.
We look forward to seeing from you again. Looking forward to seeing you on the pitch, Jim. Thank you so much for your time. I'm Mike.
And I'm Christian.
And we are
The Ref Collective.